Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we are finally back in the Take the Initiative League Top Cut. I played Green Han back in Season 1 of the Top Cut, and I am back once again with Green Han, but this time with some more cards. So I'm just gonna talk about my list briefly and then into my opponent's list and then jump onto the gameplay. So if you're here only for the game, feel free to use the chapters down below and just jump straight to the game. So we can start by looking at my list. As you can see, this main deck is quite heavily geared towards aggro. When I considered what deck I wanted to play for the Top Cut, I was like very, how do I say it? I felt most comfortable picking Sabine. That's what I planned to do, but I thought to myself, we're probably gonna see 40 Sabines in the top 16, so let's try something else and rather build something that I think can beat Sabine. So I came up with this. In hindsight, I think I probably would make some changes, but I ended up with 2 Battlefield Marines and 2 Cloud Riders. That's one thing I maybe would have changed to get an even better matchup against Sabine, maybe having 3 of those Marines. But as you can see, we play 2 Confiscates in the main. That's of course for the Boba Fett's armor and Darksaber. And then I play 1 Sundari Peacekeeper, strictly for aggro, and 2 Osetek Liberator Gunship, again for dealing with space, especially Sabine. And then some other key cards. You all know about the Tech DJ combo, not that relevant against aggro of course, but hopefully we might meet some other decks than Sabine. And actually I've not really liked playing Echo Base Defender that much, so for this Top Cut I decided to try just playing 2 and then rather siding 1 in. So we're gonna see how that feels. Notably, I don't play that much of a high end, still have 3 home ones of course, but only 1 walker. That's might not be as good when we face more grindy matchups, but I hope that kind of the value that Tech and DJ give can help me sustain those, and of course having new Wing Han and Home 1. I play 3 Syndicate Lackeys. I really like being able to just ambush things early on in the game, and that's also the reason why I've considered modded cohort. I want to test it more, but didn't have the time before submitting. Okay, enough about my list. I think we can just look at our opponent's list here. So Buku, or yeah, I don't know how to say it, Buku. He plays a pretty interesting list. Not that many 2-drops. I think for a Sabine deck, 9 2-drops is not that much. But he also plays 3 R2s. That's pretty special, I would say. And then the timely interventions are also something to look at here. I would say they are great if the game drags out for a longer time, but otherwise I don't really like them that much, because you don't want to hit them with 4 costs I believe in, and just the extra cost is not that attractive for Sabine. I think you would rather just play on curve and yeah, as I said, maybe play some more 2-drops. But still really strong. Of course, you all know about Darksaber, Poe, and Wrecker. Some really great additions to Sabine with Shadows of the Galaxy. And then Cassian Andor, great card to smuggle in. Some other things of note here are that there's no what's that called? The upgrade +1/+1, where you get an ability to overwhelm. That's also pretty popular. And playing 3 Metal Ceremonies and 3 Rebel Assaults in main is not that common either. So it's definitely an interesting take. Not what I would bring, but very interesting for this matchup. So without further ado, I think we can go straight into the game. So we're doing a high roll. Sadly, nobody were available to stream the game, so we're just gonna have my point of view, so you will be able to see my hand, but not our opponents. I won the high roll, and we get an amazing hand here. Having a 2-drop, resupply, and a 7 cost is just perfect, because playing against Sabine, we can pretty much guarantee that we'll be able to double ramp when we want to deploy Han. If we ramp, of course, because then our opponent's going to be at 4. There could be a case where our opponent deploys Sabine very early and then plays a Darksaber, and then they can actually one-shot Han, but it's probably not that common to see. As you can see, I had initiative, but I decided to pass. That's because our opponent plays 9 2-drops, with 3 of them being in space, the A-wings, and then it would have been much better for me just to use Han on the Battlefield Marine and play Falcon to kill that A-wing. So I totally forgot to mention Falcon with the opening hand here. It's amazing to have all of these great options. So we're going to take 3 damage to the base, but we'll just happily trade back. Cassian is not that easy for us to deal with, actually. The Syndicate Lackeys is good for that purpose, but we resource that from our opening hand, so we're not we can't rely on that right now. But as I said, playing resupply, we can now double ramp with Han pretty comfortably. So when it comes to ramping in Han, no, I mean ramping against Sabine, it's something that I've kind of discussed with myself or thought about for a long time. Is it good? Or do you rather want to match your opponent on the board? But I think when you have a 7-drop, the answer is a clear yes, because you're just going to put so much bodies on the board. Or if you hit a Han solo unit, that's basically removal and a great body. So I think if you have some great cards to follow it up, then ramping is almost always the best thing you could do. But you can never have any clear-cut rules for when to play something and when to don't. It's situational, of course. So our opponent deploys Sabine and attacks our base, and here we are very happy to see Kira, because our opponent has not played any cards yet, and that might make us able to kind of disrupt their turn. The question is if we want to pick Greedo and Leia, or just DJ. I think tech is not that important against Sabine, because paying 2 extra for a card is probably not something we can afford. But if it's a very vital card, it might be good. But looks like I'm deciding on DJ here. One thing of note is that we also have a Greedo on hand, so if we would take Greedo, we couldn't, or we could play it, but wouldn't be the best. So our opponent has 2 K2s, a Fighters for Freedom, and a Wrecker. The thing with Kira against Sabine is that you almost always want to say Wrecker, because that's a card that will just completely blow you out of the game. And right now it's a little bit of a more difficult situation, because K2 is kind of perfect for them to play, and it's gonna affect our opponent a lot because they have 2 K2s in hand, right? I'm not sure if it was the right decision. Calling Wrecker might have been better, but the thing is, Wrecker is 2 turns away, so we could still get other cards to deal with it, but I don't know if it would have made that much of a difference if our opponent played K2 here or a Fighters for Freedom. I think it still would have been much worse with K2 because the when defeated effect is just damage that we can't block. So here I'm just discarding Echo Base and Falcon to have some target for Han1. And having the initiative here is good, but we can choose between killing Sabine and the Fighters. I guess killing Fighters of Freedom can block a damage from them playing a red card, but we don't really need to guarantee an extra resource with Han this turn. So our opponent is just thinking a bit here of what unit to attack with. It's going to be a Cassian attacking our Han. So that's kind of one reason for maybe it would be better to attack with the Han leader first on the Fighters, so that we could have cleared the board completely, ambushing the lackeys onto Cassian. But we're going to see a A-wing. That's not the worst for us because we have a Falcon in hand, so we can at least match it a little bit. Now we're going to see another Fighters for Freedom hit the board, and here we could kill Cassian with Kira, but then our Kira will be in range for their Fighters for Freedom, and then they could play K2 for 4. I don't know if that matters anymore. Probably not. It could matter if they want to ambush K2 with timely intervention, but they still have energy conversion lab up, so I'm just taking the initiative, hoping for a U-wing, for instance. But here I just did a tiny mistake. I had forgotten to remove the reminder from the turn before last turn, so I defeated a resource where I shouldn't. But I realized quickly after that that was a mistake. And just for context, our opponent and I, we were talking on Discord, so that's why sometimes things go a little bit quickly without any writing in the chat. Top taking Spark of the Rebellion here was amazing because we wouldn't have anything else against Wrecker, and Wrecker could have would have dealt 7 damage to our base with the Fighters and killing 2 of our units. So it would have been devastating, to say the least. I mean, maybe a Han solo unit could also been good, because then we could have just dealt with the Wrecker immediately and kind of still had some control of the board. But now we're able to kind of completely stop our opponent's turn, because they can't play K2 since they only have 6 resources, and I think the last card they had was just a red 3, so that's going to be really good for us. So here I'm thinking just to trade with Kira, because our opponent is not going to have anything to kill Kira except for their units on the board, so it's fine with her taking some damage. This right now I would say is a difficult situation. Our opponent's only on 1 damage, but still maybe going base with Syndicate Lackeys would have been better, because we don't want to stall the game forever, because as soon as the Wrecker hits, we're gonna just take so much damage and get in a really bad position. So now our opponent could have been on 13 damage instead of 8, and us having a Syndicate Lackeys on the board could have made us kind of get into lethal range earlier. And our top deck is pretty bad here. I'm not resourcing any of them in case our opponent, let's say, kills DJ and we can just play another one. But in hindsight, I think it wouldn't make that much of a difference if our opponent had a Fighter for Freedom on the board. But I'm not sure. We kind of need to respect those that as well, right? Because yes, we might have gotten in 5 damage extra, but maybe our opponent could have drawn something great and get more value. So we're gonna actually see our opponent using Energy Conversion Lab here on the K2. That costs 7 because of Kira. Ambushing on Kira and dealing some overwhelm damage. And here, just going base and then killing K2 with the Cloud Rider. But as you can see, we are pretty close to dead. For a cause is enough. I don't know other cards that could kill us. Okay, here we're gonna see another example. Timely Intervention and then a Wrecker. So that's 8 in total and 6 damage. So as you can see, it doesn't just help for us to stabilize, we also need to close out the game. Those timely interventions are really scary when you have overwhelm units. And Wrecker, as I already mentioned, is just so deadly. But our sideboard is probably going to help us a lot in this matchup. See here I'm looking at 5 cards, the Echo-based Defender, Sundari Peacekeeper, 2 more Kiras, and a Liberator Gunship. So our opponent doesn't have that much of a space, that many space units. So maybe the Gunship is not as important, but I feel like it's important to kind of respect space when you play against Sabine. Yeah, so I removed, what was it, a Walker, 3 techs, and the Marauder, I think. So I think when we have 3 Osetuk, we don't need the Marauder. And we're starting with the initiative here, but I think again, if I remember correctly, yeah, we have the Cloud Rider, so we're gonna have to pass and see if we can get some value out of that. Resourcing Echo-based Defender and Han1, because we are super lucky again to get resupply, and resupplying into the lackeys is pretty good, but of course even better is resupplying into Ewing. So it's crazy how great my hands are here. And again, luckily for us, our opponent did not play an A-Wing, so we can just trade with Cloud Rider, which is pretty nice. The opponent's thinking a bit here on the resources. Gonna see a Sundari Peacekeeper actually. That's definitely an interesting card to side in. I think it's really great for the aggro mirror, but I wonder if it's that good against Han. The 1 power kind of enables your opponent to sometimes get really good trades, and the restore, I don't know if it's that important against Han, because my type of deck is not really capable of racing. I need to get control of the board and then of course finishing the game, but not really a strict race. So we're gonna see Wing Leader buffing Sabine, but at least we're gonna get our 7th resource here, and dealing 4 damage to the Sabine makes her be in range for our Han Solo units. We have both Han Solo and Ewing here. Ewing would be really nice if we would get a Cloud Rider. I don't remember if we've already resourced the second one, but I just think it's a little bit more safe to play Han, because Han is of course a great unit to just have on the board as well. DJ, I think might be a card you would want to side out. The reason why I'm leaving it in is because if I get a opening hand without a 2-drop, just ramping and playing a 3/5 on turn 1 is really nice, and therefore I think it's great just because of the stats to have that in the early game. But outside of the first 2 turns, it's not really a card I'm excited to see. So our opponent's gonna use Energy Commercial Lab to ambush with Poe onto Han, and discard a card to deal the 2 damage to the Han leader, and thus clearing our board. I guess we still have somewhat of a decent play, but you won't be able to play anything else. But now, going into 7 resources, we are very lucky to have Ewing here. I think usually, let's say if it's in an opening hand, I value Ewing over Han, just because you sometimes get a flexibility that can really help you out. And here we can see a pretty good selection. Would of course be great to see Kira here, but the Sundari Peacekeeper is nice for the restore, and Han is again great just to deal with the board. And our opponent has notably used ECL, so we don't have to be afraid of Wrecker right now. If they just play a Wrecker, we get a free trade, right? Because they can defeat a resource and deal 5 damage, but it's not going to be enough to take out Han. So we're going to see Cassian, and there's not really anything we can do about that, so we're just going to take 3 damage to the base. Spark of Rebellion is a card that I normally... I don't know what I was about to say today. It's always good. We're super stoked to see that now. Of course, Spark can be very valuable in the beginning of the game if you're playing against a deck that has like really vital early plays, just like the ramp in Han Solo. But later in the game, it's very good to deal with those just powerful plays, right? Wrecker, Forecast, I believe in, things we don't have that much control of. And now we're going to see Timely Intervention come in handy, clearing our board with Poe ambushing and then discarding a card to deal with the gunship. But when our opponent is just clearing our board, we're completely fine with that. So we kind of have the upper hand here, and Kira is gonna enforce that even more. Sundari Peacekeeper is of course nice to see. It still dies to Wrecker, but the upside of healing is just amazing. So I'm just noting to myself here what cards they have in their hand, and then I'm calling Wrecker actually with Kira, because you don't have to say a card that you see from Kira's ability. You can say any card, and as long as Kira's in play, your opponent has to pay 3 more resources to play that card. So both K2 and Forecast are okay right now. We have a pretty good board, so we should be able to deal with those. But if they have another Timely Intervention and then Wrecker, that would be worse. That was my reasoning there. We're on 8 resources, so we don't really have to resource right now with these cards. So we're going to see a Forecast hitting R2, Heroic Sacrifice, K2 and Timely Intervention. and our opponent decides to keep what was it? Heroic Sacrifice and Timely Intervention. That's pretty interesting. That's two cards that kind of depend on other cards, right? And our opponent has two cards left in their hand, so Sparking is gonna give us very valuable information here. And they have two K2s in hand. That kind of I mean, now it kind of makes sense why they kept that what's it called, Heroic Sacrifice, because it plays really well together with K2. But our opponent has spent all their resources now, so we can play a pretty good waylay here. But I'm deciding not to waylay and rather just killing K2 with the lackeys, because I know my opponent is gonna draw two dead cards, right? If I waylaid, they would have just replayed K2. But now I know their only play is gonna be to draw a card. I'm gonna attack with the Peacekeeper just to heal. Then we're gonna see another Peacekeeper. So here I'm just waiting till they claim, and then we can waylay. And just play a DJ here, putting our board to a lethal range. And our opponent's is on 8 resources, so it's not going to be enough to play a Wrecker. And that's going to secure us game 2. So here I'm doing, I don't know if it's a stupid move or a bold move, but I'm thinking my opponent knows I have 2 confiscates in the deck, so I'm just going to hope for that they maybe sided out some of the Dark Sabers, and I'm switching that confiscate for a 3rd waylay. I don't know if that's a good decision. It's something I did in the moment, but regardless, luck strikes again. It feels a little bit dirty at this point, getting a 2-drop, resupply and Ewing in all of my 3 hands. And Kira is, as you already saw, a great card against this deck. So we're just gonna hope that our opponent plays into ground and we'll have a great start again. Alright, we're gonna see a Sabine. That's perfect. Leia is not that great against Sabine. I kind of like it more against Boba. Exhausting a fire spray feels really nice, or sometimes even a Boba leader. I think I'm only playing 1 right now in the deck. Let me check that real quick. Yeah, 1 in the deck, and it's mostly there to get some flexibility out of Ewing. I feel like it can often be a very nice play in Ewing. So we're gonna see a Sidari Peacekeeper hitting us for 3 damage, and I'm actually deciding to resource the Falcon. It might be a mistake because we have to respect space, but when we have Ewing in hand, we can at least hope that we could get some answers to space there. And here we could go for many different attacks. Attacking Sabine and the Peacekeeper is a little bit more risky, and they're great to kill with Syndicate Lackeys if we hit that out of the Ewing. So I feel like it's just overall better to get rid of the Fleet Lieutenant. But it could be an angle to hit Sabine and then hope for a Cloud Rider, for instance. But we're not gonna see that. We're gonna see DJ, Greedo, and a Echo Base Defender. So the Echo Base is not the greatest right now because the Zendara Peacekeeper trades really well into it, but it still blocks damage from our base, right? So that's always good. And here we have a godlike hand. I would say the board state is pretty even, and us then being able to just take out their best plays is really good. And it's maybe like a 7-drop would be better, but we definitely cannot complain. So our opponent's thinking here, what to resource? You're gonna see the attack onto the Echo Base. And now we're kind of in a awkward position. First I'm considering playing Kira, but then I realize it's better to Spark, because if there's an immediate threat I just want to get rid of, that's good, and then we can use Kira later to just stop Wrecker. And as you can see, I'm pretty happy I did that, because Darksaber is really scary right now. If I would have played Kira, I basically would have been forced to say Darksaber, and then Wrecker or Poe could just destroy us. So now I can get rid of the Darksaber just for 2 resources, and then I could play another Kira and or play Kira after and deal with the rest. Here I guess our opponent could use ECL on Poe immediately. Could be good to take out Han and Greedo possibly. Then it's gonna stop us from ramping to 5. Maybe we have a Legacy in hand, right? So I think that's a pretty good angle. It looks like they are not gonna do that, and rather just attack with a unit. I guess if you would attack with Sabine, you could kind of bait me into attacking with Han onto R2, and then you can clear out both DJ and Han with the Poe. So we're gonna see our opponent attacking base here for 3, but they of course don't know that we have a Spark, so that's gonna be a pretty good play right now to take out Poe. I'm considering other options right now, but if Poe hits the board, it's gonna impact our board, our side of the board really bad. So I think it might be better just to Spark and then not even attack, and play Kira first action next turn to stop Wrecker. So our opponent could attack with R2 here. It's an open decklist format, so if they would have thought about Kira, maybe it would have been better for them just to claim, play Wrecker with ECL as a first action and get that damage in. But if they claim, we could also kind of deal with their board pretty well. Now we are claiming, so we're not attacking with DJ and Han, which is also okay for opponents. Still have their 3 units up, but Kira is gonna be super devastating here. Or not super devastating, because yeah, it's gonna stop Wrecker, but our opponent has 5 power on the board, so they're just gonna be forced to attack into Kira, right? So maybe no. I think it still was the correct action for me to play Kira first here. We're gonna both stop 5 damage on the base, and of course deal damage to their units when they attack into Kira. Here I'm trying to think, do I have any ways to deal with the oncoming Wrecker that I can't stop? Could go base, could kill R2, definitely gonna kill Sabine, but either DJ or Han is going to be able to do that. The question is more if I should play Sundari Peacekeeper, because Sundari Peacekeeper only has 1 power and Wrecker has 7, so he's gonna be able to just get a very good trade there. So I'm trying to think through the whole sequencing of the turn, we're just gonna kill R2. And then kill Sabine with DJ. So now we're gonna see Wrecker overwhelming for yeah, he dealt 5 damage to Han, so Wrecker only takes 3 back, and that's 4 damage from the overwhelm. And now I'm left with a decision, play Peacekeeper or Claim, and I'm thinking to myself, I got Han Solo unit, I got Waylay, I got Cloud Rider, or maybe I've already spent the 2, but I got 3 Syndicate Lackeys in the deck. I got a lot of cards that I would be happy top decking, and if I play the Peacekeeper, he can just power through it. So I would rather just take a chance and hope for a great top deck here. And as you can see, I am rewarded again. So watching this back, it feels a little bit bad. I would say I got super lucky in all the games. Han is just an amazing answer right now, because not only does it deal with Wrecker, it survives the second Wrecker, right? So I know they have another Wrecker in hand, and is not going to be able to do anything against our Han. Yeah, so they just decide to pass. So now the game is really turning around. We have a great board state, great cards, and it looks like we're gonna get the final stretch. So we're of course taking our time to think about all of the decisions. Even though I'm playing the footage back in 1.4 speed, it still takes some time. But now our opponent's on 7. So we could see a timely intervention into Poe, or a timely intervention from hand into Wrecker. So it's definitely not over. Could attack first with Han, but I'm rather deciding to play Ewing because of this card, which has kind of proven to be an MVP in this matchup, and that's Kira. The fact that we can just, again, completely stop them from playing Wrecker is amazing, and they actually had timely intervention, so we're super happy to see that. We're gonna take 4 damage from the 4 costs, and they're gonna leave Cassian on top. Here I could claim to guarantee the restore 2 from the Peacekeeper, but I know that our opponent's not going to be able to kill the Peacekeeper with Wrecker because Kira blocks that. So I guess the only thing to be scared of is if the second card of the top deck would be a Poe, but I guess if they got Poe, they would probably just ambush Kira instead. So we're gonna get Tevil. Alright, sorry for the small hiccup there. My software crashed, but we're back, and we're gonna see a ping. Then us attacking with the Peacekeeper to heal. We have 9 more damage on the board, so that means we could kill with the 1 action next phase. And of course, a benefit with playing with a open decklist format is that you can really try to think about all of the cards or edge cases that could stop your game plan. So we already know our opponent doesn't play any Sentinel units, and we know about timely intervention, but we have so many units on the board, we're probably going to be safe. Yeah, so our opponent passed there. We attacked with Kira, then we're going to see a Battlefield Marine. And here I think it was a mistake playing that second Peacekeeper. Doesn't really do anything. We know that our opponent has a Cassian though, because they put that on top for a cause. So now we at least have the option to kill Cassian. Let's say if we compare to if we would go base with Han first. But if we would have attacked with Han first, we could have confirmed or made sure that we got the initiative. And we know there's nothing in their deck that can deal 7 damage in addition to Cassian, right? So we had nothing to be scared of there. So I think it would have been a guaranteed win if we just attacked base with Han. But we're still fine. Right now, if we would attack base with Han, our opponent could, of course, top deck a Rebel Assault and then deal 8 damage. So that's why I'm deciding to attack Cassian here. So it might take some time before I do it, because I'm thinking through all of those cards that could kill us. And just for good measure, I'm using Han to remove the Battlefield Marine as well. Might have been a little bit unnecessary, but having 2 Sundari Peacekeepers on the board, I think we're in a pretty good position as long as we minimize the damage. Alright, so our opponent's gonna play Wrecker for 9, killing Kira, and that's gonna be GG, because we have 12 damage on the board, they have 14 damage on the base, and that's gonna win us game 3. So definitely a tight matchup. I think if I didn't get resupply into Ewing in these games, there's no shot I would have been able to keep up this well. In playtesting as well, I think it's favored very much to Sabine. But the Sundari Peacekeepers definitely help out. As you saw, Kira and Spark were amazing to deal with Wrecker. and as I mentioned, ramp being the kind of MVP, enabling those 7 drops to take over the game. It might be correct to play more Spark of Hopes, but then we're kind of depending on both drawing a 2-drop and they playing a 2-drop in the same arena, and then getting the ramp from that, because we don't really care about ramping other than turn 2 for the real value to be gained against aggro. So yeah, was a blast playing against the Buku. We had a chat afterwards, also a really nice guy, and he played very well, and mentioned that in playtesting they also kind of confirmed that if Han doesn't get ramp, it's pretty much a win for Sabine. So we were very lucky there, and it's going to be interesting to see who we're facing in the next game. It's either going to be another Sabine green or a Boba yellow. So definitely tune in and have a good one. See you.